to the Remington podcast, where we take a deep dive into all things ammunition. I'm your host, Audrey Mays, and today I'm sitting down with Shot Shell Product Manager Ronnie Evans.
Hey, guys.
And Research and Development Engineer Colt Lloyd.
Thanks for having me.
We are here today because I think all three of us have duck season on the brain, and it's only July. Yep. But if you're not thinking about duck season now, by the time it rolls around, you're probably behind.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So I wanted to roll through, you guys are really big duck hunters. What are you doing this summer for gear checks?
Well, kind of like we discussed a little bit before, generally, waders wise, if you had a problem toward the end of the season, right? So, but this is a time of year to check waders when it's warm. Mm-hmm. I would rather put the wader on, go get in a pond or swimming pool real quick, make sure everything's cool there, rather than find out when
it's freezing.
Yes, and I'm trying to hunt. So,
yeah. And
there's nothing more terrible than a wet duck hunt, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You're in the water, I get it, but I'd rather find out now than when I'm trying to stand there and it's by a tree and my foot's getting wet. Mm-hmm. So, that'd be one thing I'd check for sure. And you pretty good level of confidence at that point. And you know what your gear was like generally.
Yeah.
But make sure you got them put up where mice can't get to them.
Yeah,
right?
That's a big one.
And over the years, I remember the old rubber waders, so you don't have to worry about the sunlight and stuff so much. Uh-huh. But these newer ones are a little more robust. They tend to leak at seams more so than just dry rot and crack and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think I've seen rubber waders.
Honey, I'm a guy of larger stature, mm-hmm. and there was a time Red Ball made these black rubber coated canvas waders that they weighed 60 pounds by themselves.
Oh my gosh.
So that's what we wore a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be some guy, if there's some older guys watching this, they'll know what I'm talking about. And of course, me being larger, they fit me quite snug. Mm-hmm. So, but whenever I got my first neoprene waders, I could do a side straddle hop in them, and I was happy. You got more flexibility, you got more room, and then with these new breathable waders, it's cool. They're even more flexible and things of that nature. But yeah, rubber waders was a booger.
Yeah.
There'll be guys that know.
Yeah, I held on to neoprenes for so long, and then I finally got the breathable, and I was like, wow, I can actually
you can. And the neoprene was 10 times more flexible and able to move in them than those old rubber ones. It was tough to even pick your knees up over something.
Yeah.
It's real deep.
Neoprene waders have never been my friend. I'm a curvy lady. Doesn't work out for me. So when the breathable ones came out and they were like well insulated, I was like, that's the ticket.
Right? There you go. Yeah, these new breathable ones are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool.
They're pretty nice. No, I like that tip. I am one of those people who roll the dice. Like you said, Colt. Yeah.
First hunt, it's usually not cold enough down here in Arkansas that
generally
it's not horrible.
No.
And then you have to go. You either go hit up maybe a Black Friday sale, or you find a patch kit.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
patch kits,
yeah. Generally, you're coming on into the fall here, and generally a lot of these places is doing sales and stuff, and you could probably buy last year's stuff at a good price. So that'd be another reason to probably say, hey, make sure that my waders is cool, and if I've got a problem, I can probably get a little better deal on them, because there'll be something. I know Drake and some of those guys, they run sales pretty regular and watch their websites.
Especially in the summer.
Right.
Yeah.
So this will be the time to maybe update your current stuff. You might be last year's technology, but more than likely you're probably 3 or 4 year old pair anyway. Yeah. So you're coming ahead, right? So
yeah, definitely. I love a sale shop. What are you guys doing for like calling? Like this is a perfect time to be practicing calling. Colt?
I start about 3 weeks before season. But I'm going to try to go this year and do some lessons here.
Yeah, at Echo?
In the off season up at Echo.
Yeah.
So I just got to find time to go do it.
Yeah. Can you find call lessons most places, or?
Yeah, a lot of those places, a lot of your call makers in Arkansas will offer that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they're like. We have a gun club, right? So, the more they educate their people or their customer, the more likely they return to their brand.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know Echo does it. Rich and Tone will do it as well down at Stuttgart. Down there at, there. But there's a lot of those calls. I think Elite. I think I've seen where Elite at Search.
I know they have. I know they've got videos on some instructional videos.
A lot of videos and.
I'm a student of YouTube.
Yeah,
for sure.
I look at YouTube for everything. So,
yeah.
Even this. The Echo guys was cool with that, and they're good to teach Jonathan that bunch. So that if somebody, if you want to fast track that, that would be where I would start. Then then as don't know what Coach does, but as I learned to duck call, I kept it in my truck when I was by myself. I called a lot going up and down the road. I'm pretty proficient with a duck call.
Yeah.
I'm messing with speckle belly call now, so that's one thing I'm learning that.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm working on that and trying to learn more about that. So
I'm still trying to figure out the duck call. I need to go get some lessons.
Yeah.
they'll help you, I promise you. So
What does your like call setup look like? Do you wear it around your neck? Do you have like a keychain or something that you hang it on your waders with? Like what's your setup?
I wear mine around the neck, and I've got 2 duck calls. I've got a little finisher that I use for dispatching ducks that are wounded. I usually keep one of those Drake whistles.
Oh yeah.
And then my the robo remote for turning on and off, if you start flaring birds.
Yeah.
But that's usually what I keep on my necklace.
Yeah. What about you?
just a second. You had a finisher for wounded ducks? Tell me about that.
I think the brand is called Finisher.
Yeah.
But it looks like a duck head with a real extended out, I guess you call it, is it a bill? Is that the right word for them? And it, you take them, and if you have a wounded bird, instead of having to just wring its neck super bad, you insert it in basically between the neck and the head, and it dispatches them pretty quickly.
Okay. I don't guess I've seen that. I'll be darned. Okay.
I think it's kind of a newer thing.
Okay.
Past couple of years.
Yeah. So I hadn't seen that. Okay, cool.
I'm sure you can find some they should be selling them up at the Oklahoma City show.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Hey, come to Delta Waterfowl. That'd be a cool thing.
That'd be cool.
Come see. There is everything around duck hunting is going to be there in Oklahoma City. If you get a chance, come see. That'd be cool.
Yeah. End of July.
End of July. That's right. Last weekend in July. Right? Yeah. So I usually carry. I have a lanyard.
Yeah.
And I usually have just one call on the lanyard. But usually I'll have my bag and I'll have a backup call there.
Oh, okay.
Just for that. And I use a single reed so I can get really loud or I can get really quiet with it. So it pretty much, as far as range and all that goes, I don't, one call does it all for me, right?
And you don't have a duck call and a goose call?
If I'm in a place where if I'm in a field, I know there's specs, I'll have my spec call, hit my microphone. I'll have my spec call around my neck as well. I'll have them both there. So
yeah.
And I always have it with me just in case. But generally, I just usually have my duck call around my neck.
Yeah, this is a pretty good setup. Moving on from duck calls, do you, for your gun care, right? Because for rifle hunting, it's kind of a big deal to, shoot some shots to your gun, make sure you're at 0, blah, blah. What's the shotgun equivalent?
Like you're talking about as far as pattern your gun, things like that?
Yes, things like that.
Okay. So it depends on how deep you want to go, right? So obviously your shotgun that you use, it's never bad, no matter if you're turkey hunting, duck hunting, quail hunting, dove hunting, whatever it is. Shoot the gun, understand the patterns.
Right.
But then you can get into different type of choke tubes, right? So you can look at stuff that's made specifically for tungsten or bismuth or just a good all around waterfowl choke tube. There's a lot of companies that build those. And then so shoot your gun and understand it. And if you want to, then the next step after that be like performance work, like you're doing stuff to forcing cones, or maybe you want a really robust Cerakote job on it, because duck hunting you're pretty hard on your equipment. It's just the nature of the beast.
Definitely.
So generally a good Cerakote job will help protect the gun better. So you got the guys of Rob Roberts in the world. You take a gun to them, they completely Cerakote it. They do trigger jobs, and there's other companies I know. That's just who I'm familiar with, right? And really make your shotgun a very useful, more effective tool than it is when it comes from the factory, right? So not that factory guns aren't good pieces, right? I don't want to make that sound any way either, but and then a lot of companies already offer their shotguns with a lot of upgrades. You can, one that comes to mind real quick is anytime you get the Wild Wing stuff from the Browning line. They've got really nice coatings on them and good choke tubes and things that nature. So, but you need to know your equipment. Yep. So don't guess. And you're talking 1 or 2 shells is usually all it takes. It's not But if you're playing with different choke tubes, you might want to analyze it. There's people that geek out on that, me being one of them.
Yeah.
I want to understand what my choke tube and what my gun performs with a particular load.
Absolutely.
So take the time for that, right?
You might also think too about like, if you mainly hunt one setup all year, or if you've got a couple of different setups, like maybe you've got a timber spot, maybe you got a field spot, get you, maybe you shoot different shells for that. So maybe pattern them both, and maybe you have 2 different chokes,
Right.
Especially, early teal season. I know it's a little shorter this year, but
short as a full week. Yeah.
Yeah. You're probably not going to be out shooting 2s and.
No.
Right.
When I think of teal season, I'm thinking 6s. But you got a little small bird.
Right.
But they're flying fast.
They're moving.
If you're having a pass shot, I want to improve cylinder with 6s, right? And I would probably shoot improved cylinder with 6s, even if they were decoying, because they're small, fast birds.
They're quick.
A lot of shot in the air, right? So, or if you really want to get into it, we got a new duplex load. We got a 20 gauge load coming. It's 4x6s. I'm excited to see how that works. That's going to be a cool teal. That's going to be and really good for timber too, up close and 20 gauge stuff. So
absolutely.
But those things, I agree with what Coach's saying. You don't the same setup. There's guys that won't change their choke tube.
Sure.
And they'll use the same shot
for
timber and everything. And I get that. And I get that. But I generally, if I'm gonna be in the woods, I like 3s or 4s with improved cylinder, because generally in the timber they're a lot closer to you. They just are.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get out to the fields and the marshes and things like that modified tube with 2s and BBs and some other stuff, that's what you're after, right?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much what all I use. I've got it modified with, and I just bought a whole lot of Nitro Steel 3.5-inch BBs.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, there's nothing wrong with using the same setup the whole time.
Of course not.
But if duck hunting is your thing, and that's really like where you want to spend your money, spend your time, having multiple setups is really the way to go.
Wouldn't hurt a thing. I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely. And I think, like what you said, Ronnie, elongating your forcing cone changes the game.
Oh, it does, definitely. Felt recoil goes down. You're not, a lot of people, and there's a lot of guys watching this know what a forcing cone is, but that's where the chamber hits the barrel, and you've got to taper. Well, as you try to force that gas, and you got to have the pressure to work the action, but when they relieve these forcing cones, they take some of that taper out. You still work your action. You're not, and every gun, I learned this from Rob Roberts and them the other day, every gun is different.
Yep, absolutely.
It ain't just a number. I just thought I was going to open it up so many thousands and they're done.
Yeah.
No, it has to do with the manufacturer of that barrel, and it could be Super Black Eagle, and they both got different tapers because of how those manufactured. But I learned that. So, but that helps reduce that recoil feel, but it also less disruption in your pattern at the end toward the barrel. So through your choke tube, it's it improves, it drastically improves patterns. So that forcing cone length, and that's something to take advantage of.
When you go out to Rob Roberts and then you get your shotgun customized, do they ask you, what kind of ammo do you usually run through this?
Oh yeah, really? they'll ask you the ammo and stuff. Yep, sure will. And then they have several offerings that they have there. They have several brands that they'll have, and they'll shoot
test
through
it.
They'll test it. And when you get their sheet back, if anybody's went back, if you haven't watched the
Rob Roberts
episode, they need to check it out, because we talk about that in great detail. They give you a full report on what your gun performed with what shot at different yardages. What they've done to your gun. So,
Is that one of those Lucky Weasel printouts? Is that what that is?
Yes,
I think that's what they've got
off there. Yep. Well, you seen it when we went up and shot. So it's a neat deal.
Yeah.
And it's your gun information, which is pretty cool.
Well, going back to like when you pattern your gun, do you want to pattern it with specifically the steel shot that you're going to run during duck season, or do you just run like a similar load through it?
If you've got it, I'd probably use what you're going to use.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Because different manufacturers, they're all going to do. Different through different chokes. That's why you have so many different choke companies out there.
And do you need to pattern it every year?
Maybe not really.
Maybe not.
No. Once you make sure you understand your shotgun. Now when you start, if you're going to try a new choke tube, or then you go get the forcing cone lengthened and you don't have that information with the same shotgun, then yes.
Everything changes everything, right?
Yeah, if you're keeping it tried and true, patterning it the once, you're probably fine. Same shells.
Yep. The major difference between shotguns and rifles. Rifle, you've got an optic sight. If I bump it, don't realize it, I'm going to validate that thing's right for deer season.
Right.
Where shotguns, I've got a bead, and it's a little different deal. So
yeah. Pointing, not aiming.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You point a shotgun, you don't aim it. Only time I aim a shotgun is turkey hunting,
right,
or shooting slugs. Right. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm a cold tell you. It's something you don't have to do every year, but know your setup. Once you got your setup understood, and you're rock and rolling.
Yeah. For, once you have your gun set up and you know how your gun performs, right? You guys specifically, do you take that specific gun, and take it out to the sporting clays course? Or do you just go to the sporting clays course and practice swinging a shotgun?
So mine's kind of both. Like I shoot a lot of sporting clays. I'm usually shooting my over-under, but my duck hunting gun, Brett A400.
Yeah.
It's my backup gun, so I shoot a lot of sporting with it anyway.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of it doesn't hurt to go do it, especially a couple times before season. What I'm going to have to do this year is, because I've been hunting out of a boat sitting down, I'm going to take a chair with me on sporting.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Because that's what it's like.
That's how you're shooting.
I'll shoot sporting fine, but you get you're sitting down. We hunt out of these little turkey chairs.
Yeah.
And it's I don't swing very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing you do with rifle. You practice prone, you practice on the bipod, you practice all that stuff. So, that makes sense.
So that's something I hadn't really thought about it before, but I really noticed it last year. It's sporting, I'd be shooting fine, and then I'd go shoot ducks, and I'd be I'm behind these birds, not even close. And it's I haven't practiced the setup.
Interesting.
That's tough. If you can't move, it's hard you can't swing or move. So
yeah.
Going back to that, I think what it has to do more than anything is when you're, when you pattern your shotgun, we're thinking about the pattern, but you're also, the other thing you're looking at is point of impact.
Yep.
So where's the central point? Where's your shotgun hitting?
70-30, 60-40, all that.
50, most field guns and a lot of sporting clay guns are set up 50-50, right? If you've got your gun set up at 50-50, you go back and forth. But, it's the impact spot's the same, right? But familiarity with swinging that particular gun, it wouldn't hurt to shoot your shotgun a little bit. Shoot your hunting gun. It's some sporting clays or some skeet or something.
Yeah.
Get you ahead of the game.
Yeah. Something where the clay target is moving crossways is probably the best. Yeah.
Right. So it's all about understanding also point of impact with your shotgun. Because if your sporting clay gun and this one are hitting different, you need to shoot that.
Right.
It's going to be different, right? So keep that in mind too.
Yeah. How integral do you think, practicing and shooting sporting or some breaking clay, sport is good for practice?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I first started shooting trap years ago, it's because I wanted to be a better hunter.
Yeah.
I want to be able to hit more of what I was shooting at. So I promise you, a guy who's proficient at sporting clays is not going to have a problem shooting ducks.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Madison Sharp.
She'd fold them. Yeah.
She was getting them. It was impressive.
She can almost shoot blindfolded, I think.
I think so. She can just feel it,
like that. So it's one of those things. It translates. So.
Yeah, I know Logan said that when he started shooting sporting clays, when they'd go up and dove hunt, it was to the point they were making people mad because it's they weren't missing and were killing all the birds. And they're like,
I shoot a shotgun a lot. Yeah, we'll practice.
You just feel the connection, right?
Yeah. That's right.
And Colt, I know you have dogs. I know everyone loves this subject. So, what are you doing right now?
Well, right now I'm writing a check. And it hurts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, personally, right now, I don't have the time that I've really been able to give it to get him up to speed. So he's actually he's getting trained up at Blackland Retrievers up in Pleasant Plains. And I'm getting him back at the end of July. Once I get him back, one issue we had last year is I got him back 2 weeks before season. And hadn't had a chance to work with him in our hunting setup. So he was a little timid jumping out of the boat.
Sure.
So, when we get him back here at the end of July, we're going to put the boat in some water, take him out when it's not cold water so he can just get familiar with the setup. And then, we'll continue working with him, take him out 2 or 3 times a week, work on just swimming, blinds, all
just
that
putting
stuff.
him in game day situations kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd say the one thing I hadn't really thought about last year that really set him up for failure was not working the setup.
Yeah.
I personally don't have a dog right now. Well, I have a dog, but he's not a hunting dog. Right? He's just a big 100-pound biscuit dog. So, but anyway, no. When I had, you seen a picture of that dog I had in my office, and I trained her 100%. But now, it is. I 100% agree. When you're going from blind to boat to stand on timber, I mean, the dog has equipment too, right? So they need to get familiar with that as well, because you throw something at them new and they don't know what to do, and you get frustrated with them. Well, who's the idiot there?
Yeah.
So
me.
I mean, they got to understand it, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I even took mine pheasant hunting a couple of times. So I took her to Iowa once, South Dakota once. It took her a minute or two, but she figured it out.
Yeah.
And they will, but presenting it to them and having them know it. So I remember taking my dog and we went, the first time we went on a stand hooked to a tree, by the hunt was over, she kind of understood it. Well, the next time we come back, it was just automatic. It was familiar. Then I took her the next time where she had a box blind, where he was in a big blind, and she had a box on the end. Well, I'd call her around, coax her in. Well, about the third time, she was in there sticking her head out, handing me a duck, and we was off to the next, volley or whatever. Right. So that makes your hunt a lot easier if you're not having to teach and coach so much.
Yeah.
So
Be
if
frustrated.
right? if they're already familiar with those types of things before season hunt, it just makes everything enjoyable, because there's not much more fun than hunting with a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a lot of fun hunting with a dog, and but that part of it, also the conditioning this year. They're conditioning, they're swimming, like you talk about the swim, letting them run. You got to be careful. It is pretty hot. It's hot on them too. But you're still conditioning the dog. Your still commands has to happen. They got to understand who the boss is and what the expectations are. And that's something that happens year round. Much like Coach said, if you don't have the time, you need to get somebody doing that. Even my dog, as she got older, we probably didn't do it as much. But when she was young, it was every day.
Yeah.
But as she got older, it was just old habit for her, and she was fine with whatever we did because she understood it. But yeah, this time of year, it's about keeping them in shape, make sure the health's good, teach them things like he's talking about, showing them the setup. That way they're not, when they come to it the next night, it's not foreign to them. They're trying to figure out, and both of you's frustrated.
Yeah. I mean, all they want to do is please you, right?
Labs are
it's not their fault if they're like,
who said anything about labs? You don't have to use a lab.
You don't have to.
You can be oddball.
Is yours a lab?
That was a German wire hair pointer.
Oh, very cool.
Cool.
I actually didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yep, they're neat dogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of dog breeds out there. I would say predominantly in Arkansas, they're labs.
Oh, yeah, they are.
But,
and you're seeing some other things. You're seeing some Boykins, Daniels. Them are cool little dogs. I got buddies that raises those, and they're about, if you need to, you can always put them in your waders and carry them. They're that small.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're seeing the dogs like what he's got. You're seeing, I got a buddy of mine's got, I think it's pronounced Drothire, which looks kind of similar to that. They're cool dogs.
They're kind of the same depending on if they're like German lineage versus
Oh,
Dutch.
gotcha.
Is it Dutch? No. Anyway, there'll be somebody who can tell us.
It's they like, because it's like a Deutschdrathhaar. I might be butchering that.
I speak redneckanese.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that.
Like one of them's like a German lineage, and one kind of splitting it the American lineage.
Okay.
But they're very similar dogs that used to be connected somewhere up here.
I got you. So yeah. Yep.
Okay. I think like one of the keys there is keeping your dog in shape. I think first time duck dog owners might not think that way, but you can't take a potato dog and then make him run a mile during duck season.
No.
Well, and that's part of my issue is I'm like first duck dog I've had, so I'm learning just as much as him.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yep, you will.
Trying to not set him up for failure just because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
That's right.
And that's part of the reason I relied on sending it somewhere, just because it's like I don't know what I don't know. Like so.
Well, and you as a dog owner and first time like this, it probably wouldn't be a lot of bad for you to spend time with a trainer too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's to speed your learning up.
Yeah.
Which would help the dog as well too.
Yeah.
So.
And most trainers, will allow that.
Trust me, they want your dog to be successful. They're in business to keep you successful and to train more dogs, right? So
I usually go see him about once a month and kind of work,
That's cool.
Yeah.
So he's helping you.
Sees what he's learning.
That's right.
And like the commands and how everything works and stuff. Yeah, that's really awesome. I've never had my own duck dog, but I've definitely watched duck dogs, and it's
they're
amazing.
Fun.
I think it's so cool.
Good ones are impressive.
Yes, good ones are. I even like ones that are a little hard to work with. I still find it impressive, to be so honest with you.
Yeah. What's cool to me is when you said dog, goes out completely out on a blind and you're trying to send him out, even if it's the guy who can do hand signals.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the old boy that throws a rock out there to try to get him to say it's in
Here's
that
where
area,
it's at. Yeah.
right? And then watch the dog work and get downwind of it and turn on it. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's neat.
Dogs are cool.
Yeah, it's probably one of the coolest parts of duck hunting, in my opinion. But Cole, you said your boat setup. What are you doing during the summer to get your boat ready?
So this year, I'm gonna try to. We hunt out of a blind in a boat, and it's homemade. So I've got some modifications gonna do this year. It's a little. It stands out a little bit. So I'm gonna probably this summer, maybe next week, cut off the back section a little bit and change the angle and put some. I'm trying to think who makes them, but they've got basically flip up like soft cloth kind of covers that you can attach
to cover
fast
yourself
grass.
and your dog, and then
Yeah.
you pop up. Is that
Yeah.
how it works? Okay.
So right now I have very similar, but it's it's hard mounted. So there's a lot of situations where you have a duck come in behind and you don't really have a way to get a shot on it. So that's where I'm going to add that one that I can flip back.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's what I'm aiming to do this summer.
Yeah.
And make it where it don't stand out as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several companies make like an A-frame for a boat like that. They're pretty neat. So
I know that if you have like a ski boat or like a summertime boat, you have to winterize it, right? Because you use these boats in the winter. Do you have to summarize them?
well, if they're going to sit,
You're like, nah.
if it's a boat's going to sit for a while, obviously you want to take care of the engine with
Yeah.
stay build or something like that, so you don't gum it up. But most of these guys in this part of the country who has a duck boat, they use it they go fishing and everything in it, so it doesn't sit real long.
Yeah.
He's talking about boats as a whole. I got as a whole, my great nephew just got him a boat and he's wanting to camouflage it. And he was talking to me. We was talking about this very thing yesterday afternoon. And I said, you just remember when you camouflage this boat, think about that boat through the duck's eyes.
Yeah.
That big pretty duck or big pretty camouflage on the side of that thing that looks like leaves and trees. Well, when the duck's above, what does he see? He sees muddy water. So keep that in mind when you're camouflaging your duck boat. What's a duck going to see? Not your buddy thinking, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
So
What does the duck want to see so it comes to you?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you don't want him to see the boat, right? So it's all about.
I guess that's what camouflage means, right?
Yeah, right. So camouflage that boat. So make sure it's hid.
Yeah.
And you're good, right? So that's the thing. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never hunted out of a boat. I've only used a boat to get to where I'm hunting. So
It's a learning
It's
experience
different.
for sure.
It is.
yeah, different, definitely.
Yeah.
We covered dogs, boats, waders, and calls. So all that's left is ammo.
Well,
this is an ammo podcast. So
there you go.
yeah.
So this year we got the year before last. We come out with our duplex again.
Yep.
So we've got several. We got some line extensions and 20 gauge that coming out this year. But also we have got the new Duck Club steel.
Yep.
Pretty excited about that. We've got it in multiple loads. We got it in 3-inch BBs, 2, 3s, and 4 12 gauge. We've got it in 2 3/4 12 gauge because there's a lot of calling for that in both 3s and 4s.
Yep.
We got 3.5-inch offerings. Obviously, these are all got the 3.5 inches around 1550 or 1500 feet per second.
I think they're 1,500.
Okay, and then our 12 gauge 3-inch is 1400, and then our 2 3/4 is 1375.
1375 ounce and an 8.
Ounce and 8.
Yeah.
No, yeah, ounce and 8. That's right.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got our 20 gauge offerings also in this, in 3s and 4s, also in 3-inch in the Duck Club steel as well. And the Duck Club steel is aimed toward that guy who buys flats. It's a good price.
Yep.
They're going to be able to get it at a good price.
Which I would say most serious duck hunters do buy duck clubs and flats.
Right. And most guys that hunt
Or
bunch-
bad ones. Or bad duck
I didn't
hunters.
need it. I didn't need it last year. I probably only needed 4 boxes last year.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah,
Not a lot of ducks.
Ducks have struggled in Arkansas.
Yeah.
But but going back to duplex, you got 2 different sizes of shot in the same shell. You can use the same shot for 2 different things, right?
Yep.
If you're in a field, having the BB by 4s, which is my favorite of everything that we make in that duplex line. I've shot quite a bit of it. It's perfect to take down geese, and it'll do good on ducks both. So I like it a lot. The BB by 4 is my favorite. But we also load a 2x4, a 2x6, which is the one I talked about. I think would be pretty daggum good for teal
Teals.
season.
Yeah.
And then we got a 2x4, a 2x6, and a 4x6 coming in the 20 gauge. All those is around 14. The 12 gauge is 1450, and the 20 gauge is just 1400. I believe, is that right? I think it's right. Yeah, I know it is. It's 1400. So those are really good velocities. Patterns are staying together real good. One thing we've learned is with this duplex stuff is, for whatever reason, it's like having two sizes shot. Having the two sizes of shot in the same shell is like having two separate shells, and it doesn't seem to open. It stays more symmetrical. It's
almost like they keep each other together.
They keep each other together somehow or another, and it just less distortion for whatever reason. In our testing is what we saw. Not that our other stuff. When we tested our Duck Club steel, I actually took some in Texas. And you've watched the podcast, you heard me talk about it before, back in December. And I watched a rider shoot and kill, finish off a duck or cripple at 80 yards with that stuff.
Yeah.
And with 3-inch threes out of a 20 gauge. And I was like, did I just see what happened? And the riders were like, did you see that? So it stays together well. It shoots well, performs well. We've got a good powder, primer, wad, shot combination there. It's working really good at a good price. So I'm just telling you, you need to try to get you some Duck Club steel. Yeah. I think you'd be really surprised and impressed with it.
Duck Club is like classic, but new technology. Like, we don't mess around. That's the steel load.
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
That's what I'm shooting this year. I watched, when I went with Echo last year, I watched them shoot Duck Club. And I shot duplex, but that's what I'll be shooting next year's Duck Club.
The Echo guys were big. They know nitro steel.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Rick and all them, they were big on the old Remington nitro steel. And it's still good stuff. You know, you got the difference between it, mainly a few little velocity differences. The shot in the nitro steel is plated, so it doesn't corrode as easy.
Yeah.
But it's going to cost a little more because there's a few things, velocities and different things.
Well, because it's plated.
Yeah. There's a few things. There's a few things there that's different, right? Where the Duck Club is not plated, but it performs really well. And we've given some of that Duck Club last year, and they was really impressed with it as well. So.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm taking Duck Club in that really cool box, and I'm going to keep the box, but I'm dumping that box into a dry bag. It won't corrode.
Let it rip.
We're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. Just take care of it.
So, you guys feel ready for duck season, or are you getting there?
Getting there.
Yeah.
We're June. Or almost July. It's still hot.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, but it's always there.
It's always there in the back of your mind.
I'll say this. You know, we talk about hunting and things being hobbies, and it's really not. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
It's a lifestyle. Hobbies is one thing. But it's a lifestyle.
It's a culture.
It is. Yep. It is. And people talk about it and think about it year round. I mean, we're constantly, I'm looking for the duck hatch. You know, I'm looking for reports on that. And I've seen some of them, not real happy with that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we hope for those numbers to rebound, and we'll just see how that works.
Yeah. What about you, Colt?
About mid-August, when we actually go out and start planting, that's when I'll be full in. The dog will be here. Yeah. It'll be duck season time. And
you hunt private, right? So can you talk about planting? Getting your food plots ready?
We usually just run a drag around, kill a bunch of the lily pads. We'll pump out the field, and then just kind of broadcast the millet on top, and then drive 4-wheelers around and kind of get it down at least enough that we don't have a real good setup for as far as like tractors and all that stuff. So we kind of make do with what we got. But usually you plant it sometime mid-August, and it'll be ready, start coming up for teal season. And then by regular season, it's came out pretty good.
It's like good to go. That's really cool. I don't plant. I don't have like land to plant, but I find that practice really interesting. So
gonna try it on our land this year and see if we get anything. We'll see how that works.
What are you gonna plant?
I was looking at there was some out on. We'll plant mainly like Japanese millet out at our lease.
Yep.
I'll probably try a couple different things on our land. It's gonna have to clear a few areas. Probably maybe try a little sorghum. Some millet, and then there's something that's called duck potatoes. And I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research
on that. I got you.
That's interesting.
Millet. that Japanese millet's pretty popular. Isn't it a gold top millet, or is it?
I think, yeah.
Because your sorghum gets kind of more of a brown look to it, right? So yeah, that stuff they like that.
Yeah, there's a whole science behind what to plant, when to plant that I'm just not privy to. I just don't know that info.
It's a lot of fun. It's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I do it for deer, and I enjoy that too.
Yeah.
It's when I get to do my little bit of farming every year.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of cool.
We do it. We're not experts.
No.
Sometimes it doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Well, most farmers they put it out and they hope for the best. That's what you do, right?
Right.
So.
And that's what you do most season. You just hope they show
hope
up.
for the best. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Well, there you have it, guys. Remington is on the rise. Like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this podcast with your hunting or shooting buddies. Be on the lookout for the next episode. You can find us anywhere you can stream podcasts. If you have any questions for me or Colt or Ronnie here, you can email us at podcast@remington.com. Thanks for listening.